Tonight, the owner of the Stephenville Airport gives an update on the lack of progress at the facility.
We've always thought that we come into this with honesty and integrity. It took a while to get there.
There's been little activity at the Stephenville Airport, and it's been struggling financially. Despite this, Carl Diamond says his big plans for the facility have not been grounded. We'll have that story tonight on Here and Now.
There's 175,000 Newfoundlanders who don't have a family physician.
The Newfoundland and Labrador Medical Association says close to 200,000 people in this province are without a family doctor.
It's alarming, and it's an issue that is not a new issue.
We'll tell you more about that coming up.
And federal minister and St. John South Mount Pearl MP Seamus O'Regan announces he's leaving cabinet and won't run in the next election.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We have an update on the Stephenville Airport tonight. It's been 3 years since an Ottawa businessman announced plans to buy the airport, and the sale went through last summer. Now, despite promises of jobs and manufacturing, there's been little activity there since then. As Troy Turner reports, cash flow has been a problem, but the airport's owner hopes new investors will get the ball rolling.
The promises back in 2021 were immense. A manufacturing facility for giant cargo-sized drones, hundreds of millions in spending, thousands of jobs for people in the area.
Over the next couple of years, we want to build at 250, 550, 700, 1,000, and up to 5,000 over the next couple of years to be able to employ everyone, but in a meaningful, strategic, and logical way.
None of this has happened, at least not yet. But Carl Diamond says he's not giving up.
We made promises that we intend to keep entirely, but no one's on the hook for what we're doing. I think that's important to stress, is that your tax dollars didn't go towards my idea. My money went towards it, and I ran out of it.
Diamond says he is now working with a new UK investor to bring his plans to life. He wouldn't say who.
Big major projects, especially in this area, are all delayed, sometimes with final investment decisions a year out and things like that. We struggled with the financing for it. We thought it would be significantly easier. We haven't wavered from the plan, though. Like that's the thing, is like we will be building drones at the airport. We will be having 1,000 jobs because we want to have a world-class airport for all these world-class projects.
Future plans affected by current financial realities. Public records show a $2.4 million lien has been filed against Diamond's company over an unpaid bill for runway lighting.
We said our struggles with the financing was a problem, but now that that's resolved, we worked out a payment plan. I expect that lien to be removed in the next couple of days.
Town officials touted the sale of the airport as a way for Stephenville to get a new stream of tax revenue. The town says no payments have been made yet, and negotiations are underway.
Traditionally, our tax bill with the town and the airport has been over $400,000 a year. So what we asked is for a grant in lieu of taxes, where we put in $4,200,000 into the town as a tax, and then the rest is wrote off so that we take that money and develop jobs and infrastructure around the airport, so that we're not spending all of our money paying taxes. We're spending that money to create more taxpayers, essentially.
It's been nearly 3 years since the sale was first announced. Diamond took over last summer. He's asking for more patience from people in the area.
We've always thought that we come into this with honesty and integrity. It took a while to get there. Admittedly, absolutely took a while to get there. But the fact of the matter is we're going to open up the West Coast, specifically the Bay St. George region, to commercial traffic again. We've never wavered from that.
Diamond says he has a deal signed to provide passenger service at the airport before the end of 2024. He wouldn't reveal which airline. He also said there are big announcements coming in the next month. Again, he said, we'll have to wait for the details. Troy Turner, CBC News, Gander.
Well, now to some political news. Seamus O'Regan, the federal Labour minister and MP for St. John South Mount Pearl, is resigning from cabinet. The 53-year-old says he's stepping down for family reasons. O'Regan's replacement will be named tomorrow. He will stay on as Member of Parliament until the next federal election, but he won't run again. O'Regan has served in Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's cabinet since 2017 and says Trudeau accepted his resignation with grace.
He was very gracious, I think. That's not an easy conversation to have. We are very good friends, although I have to say that, my job as a minister and his job as a prime minister is quite separate from our friendship. But yeah, there's no question that was a tough conversation to have. One I was looking forward to, but he understands, I think, and knew that, I wanted to make sure that after all these years that I was leaving on a high, and that my husband and I were good with the decision, and I think he was very kind about it.
And we'll have more with Seamus O'Regan, including his thoughts on life after politics, and we'll hear from CBC's David Cochran, who will talk about what it will mean for the Liberals. That's coming up in about 30 minutes. Well, the number of people in this province without a family doctor is continuing to rise. New information shows about 40,000 more people are without a doctor compared to last year. And as the population continues to age, the province's medical association says the government needs a better plan. Here now's Jessica Singer reports.
It's nothing new, but it's getting worse. There are 175,000 people in this province without a family doctor, up from 136,000 last year. That's according to the Newfoundland and Labrador Medical Association. Dr. Steve Major is a family physician and the association's president. He says the provincial government needs a long-term plan, especially as the province has one of the most rapidly aging populations in the country. But instead of thinking of the future, Major says the government has undervalued family medicine.
When I started in practice 29 years ago, there was an excess of family physicians, and now we're into a shortage. At some point in time, someone had to know that we were getting into a situation where we didn't have the adequate resources and decisions weren't made. So the problem is, I think healthcare decisions tend to have to need a vision that's more than 4 years in an election cycle, and we seem to be stuck in governments making decisions that are very short-sighted and not longitudinal for long-term provision of resources.
The provincial and federal governments have agreed to invest nearly $2 billion over 10 years to improve healthcare in the province. But Major says there's been no concrete plan to boost the number of family doctors. Opposition health critic Barry Petton is calling for a full-time health minister. He says the premier missed the mark by giving Justice Minister John Hogan the responsibility of being interim health minister. He says a doctor shortage is at the crux of the province's healthcare crisis, and he says the province doesn't seem to be taking it seriously.
This crisis is not going away. We're years and years into this, and the Premier's running around getting these photo ops, and you got a part-time health minister, and he's trying to do justice part-time. Who wins? There's nobody winning here.
He says there are solutions.
I've talked about nurse practitioner model, the funding model for nurse practitioners to be able to fund government directly. And I think it makes a lot of sense, and everyone I speak to, it makes sense to. But government will not budge on it. Other provinces have done it. That would go a long ways in taking the pressure off people needing access to a family doctor. That's to me is a low-hanging fruit.
Major says the Medical Association has been advocating for a national licensing process to allow doctors to practice in any province, as well as more funding for health care. The health department says it will comment tomorrow. Jessica Singer, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, police are searching for video surveillance from a crime scene in downtown St. John's. They're looking for footage from a specific time frame from over a week ago. It comes after the body of a woman was found Tuesday night under suspicious circumstances. The CBC's Heather Gillis reports.
There's not a lot left here to say that police were investigating at this vacant lot off Water Street in downtown St. John's, but investigators do say they are looking for some dash cam or CCTV from between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. on July the 10th. Now that is broad daylight over a week ago. CBC News doesn't have a lot of details about what exactly happened here, but police do say the remains of a woman were found at this location and that they secured the scene as soon as they got here, and that their criminal investigation division is investigating. Police are also calling this death suspicious. Police say they were called here at 8:40 Tuesday evening. The Royal Newfoundland Constabulary says the investigation is still in the early stages. Police say the medical examiner is trying to determine the cause of death of the woman and try to find out her identity as well. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
It's been almost a full week since the evacuation order for Labrador City came into effect, but provincial officials remain hopeful the worst is behind them. Checkpoints remain in place in Wabush to prevent unauthorized people from entering Labrador City. The province's fire duty officer told CBC Today that more firefighters have arrived to help battle the blaze just a few short kilometers outside of town. Nearly 70 firefighters have come to the area to help, 48 of them from the island and 20 from New Brunswick. A forestry professor at UNB says the temperatures in Labrador have been higher than normal this year.
But when you look at that data over the past 30 years, actually the number of fires in the area burnt in Newfoundland and Labrador has been steadily decreasing over the past 30 years. But nonetheless, you'll still get like big years occur once in a while. But so far this year is shaping up to be like much higher than the 30-year average. So like the total number of fires to date so far this year is on par with the 30-year average. But the area burnt so far in Newfoundland and Labrador this year is about 3 times the 30-year average. So it's quite a big area. In fact, like the 30-year average is around 21,000 hectares of area burnt per year in Newfoundland and Labrador. But this year you're getting close to 72,000 hectares. And that's primarily in Labrador.
One coach and concerned parent have major issues with safety and cleanliness at the soccer fields in Corner Brook.
Injury to a child, serious injury.
I'll tell you what's going on and what the city has to say about it all. That's tonight.
A population of 170 million people.
Yeah, I'm actually just here today to stand with the solidarity of Bangladeshi students who are protesting against quota movement. Actually, I'm just here to raise the voice against this, the tortures and the all these things that are happening to our students, public university students and all kinds of students. They are actually protesting against quota movement.
So the government actually did scrape out the quota system in 2018, but in 2024, a few weeks ago, they actually did reclaim again that system. So that's when the students actually raised their voice. And against that, the Prime Minister called the students who were protesting against the quota reform, called them the traitors. So that's why the students actually were on the road protesting peacefully. And then they were tamed again by the government by forcing the police to beat them.
And apologies there for our technical issues with the audio, but that was some students, the Bangladesh cultural community at MUN, who were protesting late this afternoon. They're showing solidarity with recent student protests in Bangladesh regarding public sector job quotas. Well, in other news tonight, the Newfoundland and Labrador Liquor Corporation has issued an emergency recall on a local beer. The corporation says 355 milliliter cans of Western Newfoundland Brewing Company's Kill Devil Pale Ale are being recalled. It's because can lids may pop off due to high pressure. So anyone with the beer should contact the brewery, and the recalled beer has been removed from the shelves at the NLC stores. Well, a single mother hopes to help people eat healthier in Shehajit. After finishing a culinary program in St. John's, Pisham Panashaway returned home to open a restaurant, and it's the same business her mother and aunt ran 1 year ago. The CBC's Heidi Adder has more.
It's a family revival along the beach in Shehajit. When Pisham Panashaway graduated from culinary school this spring, she's followed in her mother's footsteps and opened Owenista's Takeout.
Like it feels nice to give back to the community I grew up in and to serve like healthy foods, something different. Some meals don't need to be deep fried, and it could be made a lot healthier and just giving yourself better nutrients in your body.
Pisham serves handmade pizzas and burgers, healthy specials with fresh vegetables. The takeout space is not a new one for her. Pisham's mother and aunt ran a restaurant years ago in the same building, but due to personal reasons had to stop. Pisham says opening her own in the same space is a revival, continuing their legacy.
I remember when I first started my cooking course in St. John's, I couldn't sleep at night because I was like so excited to start my own thing like I am today. Finally, the day has come and it feels really, really good, rewarding.
Pisham says there's been a lot of interest so far, and she hopes to keep it running throughout the summer to see how it goes. She dreams of one day expanding to a dine-in place, enjoying healthy meals in Shehajit with a view. Heidi Adder, CBC News, Shehajit, Innu First Nation.
Well, one parent and soccer coach in Corner Brook is frustrated about the state of the city's fields. He says large holes pose a safety risk for minor soccer players, and the city needs to step up and fix it. Here now's Colleen Connors has more.
Eric Bourgeois has had enough. He's asked to have these big holes at the Ambrose O'Reilly pitch fixed several times.
2 feet wide, 2 feet long, 4 to 6 inches deep. So not just an uneven piece of grass, an actual danger.
Referees canceled tournament games here last week because it was unsafe to play.
If you had stepped into one of those holes on the side of it, it really could be a broken ankle, a broken leg.
Soccer is big in Corner Brook. Over 600 children in the minor soccer program use this field and 3 others every day. Bourgeois' frustrations with the maintenance of the fields boiled over Tuesday evening when he learned that the portable toilets were unusable.
Here at minor soccer on Tuesday evening, there was no toilet paper in the bathrooms, no clean water for washing hands. And, parents were witnessing children come out of the bathroom with looks of terror on their face, having to go to their parents and guardians and get Tim Hortons napkins to be able to use the bathroom.
While the soccer club is responsible for mowing the grass, it's the city that takes care of maintenance. An outside contractor looks after the pumping, cleaning, and stocking of the outhouses. Permanent washroom facilities would be costly, says the city. Bourgeois says these maintenance issues show a big disconnect with the recreation department and the people that run user groups like the soccer club.
If that department would sit down and meet with the user groups and get feedback, all of this would be able to be a proactive approach as opposed to a reactive, and these things could be improved for everybody, whether it's safety, cleanliness of facilities, so on and so forth. So the big disconnect between the user groups and the department is very concerning to me.
No one with the city of Corner Brook will do an interview. But in a statement to CBC, the city says that they only became aware of issues on this field earlier this week, and that staff will be addressing the problem. As of today, all the holes and patches are still here. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Oh, we've got some rain on the way, or happening right now, across parts of the island. Same thing up across Labrador, even the risk of some thunderstorms. I'll talk all about it coming up.
Ashley, another hot one today. It was definitely like a day for ice cream in St. John's, at least.
Yeah, popsicles, freezies, all the things that are cold out there, really through a good chunk of the island today. But let's take a look at those numbers out there. Number of areas seeing temperatures around 29 to even 30, almost 32 degrees this afternoon. So the hottest day since that warm day that we had back in, I guess, at the end of June. So it's certainly nice and warm out there. For example, area like Gander was 31.2 degrees this afternoon. So we certainly have some warm air out there. Not the case, though, as you head towards the northern peninsula. Temperatures only between 17 to 22 degrees. And again, along southern areas of the island where you are in onshore flow, temperatures are a very different story, anywhere from 17 to 19 degrees. Labrador as well. At one point, there was a massive temperature difference between Nain, which was in the single digits, to Gander, which was sitting at 30 degrees today. You did see a temperature around 12 this afternoon, though, in Nain, and really temperatures across Labrador anywhere between 14 to about 18 or even 20 degrees today. Now, if we take a look at what's going on, we've been seeing some thunderstorm activity up across parts of Labrador, and that risk will continue tonight. Then we've got some showers for the island. Now, most of these we haven't seen any lightning from them in a little while, but that risk is certainly there as we head through tonight. We can see some heavier showers just south of Buckins there, and north of Stephenville, we're seeing some heavier showers right now. So those are moving through and will continue to do so as we head through the overnight, but really it is this heat. It's still 27 degrees in St. John's. You factor in that humidity, it feels more like 35. It feels more like 36 in Gander. And even as you head towards the west coast, 23 degrees right now in Corner Brook, but it is sticky. It feels like 31 degrees. And again, this humidity is going to stick around at least for one more day. We will see a bit of relief, though, as we head through Friday evening. It'll still feel muggy, but it won't be this humid weather that we're seeing right now, and we'll really see some relief from that. I feel much more comfortable as we head into the beginning of next week, although we're still going to see some fairly nice weather with that temperature-wise as well. So the heat won't go away, at least, just the humidity. As we head into tonight, we're still looking at that potential for some thunderstorms and showers up across the Big Land, and across the island, it's going to be unsettled as well. Now, through the overnight, we may even hear a few rumbles of thunder for eastern Newfoundland. So if you do hear that, don't be surprised. And that should happen in the very early morning hours, even into about Friday, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning for those of you in eastern Newfoundland. But tonight it is going to stay mild, 19, 20 degrees as our overnight lows. Those winds generally out of the southwest around 20 kilometers per hour. Northern Peninsula, southeastern Labrador, temperatures in the teens tonight, still single digits for Nain. And as we head into tomorrow, it's going to be a tad cooler in some cases, but overall, the first part of the day is going to be unsettled. It'll start cloudy, chance of showers. Again, the risk of some thunderstorms in there for eastern areas of the island. Up across Labrador again, pretty much a mix of sun and cloud with the chance of some showers. Now, the trend will be to clear out, especially for the west coast and eventually central as we head into the afternoon. I do think clouds will hang on, though, for eastern Newfoundland through a good chunk of the afternoon. More showers will move in for Labrador. And overall, like I said, our temperatures are going to be sitting in the mid-20s, so a little cooler than today, still reaching about 27, 28 degrees through parts of central. Again, southern Newfoundland, you're in onshore flow, which means temperatures will be in the teens. Winds tomorrow a bit brisk. Southwesterlies will be gusting anywhere from about 30 to 50 kilometers per hour right across the board. And then Labrador, cool. Really cool up across northern portions, 9 to 10 degrees. Otherwise, between 18 to 19 will be the daytime highs. And again, those winds will be up a little bit, gusting anywhere from 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. I'll get into long range forecasts in a few minutes.
Thanks, Ashley. Now back to our top story and Carl Diamond's plans to transform the Stephenville Airport. He says his plans have been stalled due to cash flow, but Diamond remains optimistic. Here's more of his conversation with CBC reporter Troy Turner.
One of the things that we spoke about in the past, you had always talked about, investments into the airport. So specifically, I guess, what are these investments and what projects are you working on?
So this is a UK investor we have coming in for a minority stake in our business. In Europe, airport ownership, private airport ownership is quite common. For us, we're the first ones to own a private international airport in Canada. So the fundraising has been difficult in that regard, but we found someone who understands the space that we're in.
Who are the investors that you have secured?
It's a UK investor. I haven't asked him if I can disclose his name yet. We're still in the process, but once he gives that okay, I'll be happy to tell you.
The deal obviously was first announced in September 2021, and at that time you had urged everybody that was in attendance at the announcement, and then in the days and weeks to follow, to be patient as you worked on your plans. And obviously those plans are well documented. They're major investments in the airport, millions of dollars in spending, of thousands of jobs and all those things, but we haven't seen that. So we're almost 3 years in now, and what can you tell us about what's happening there in terms of those plans and in terms of the spending?
I can tell you the people on the West Coast, particularly, patience is a virtue, and they got it in spades. They've been so good because we're treated so well in Stephenville by the people. But all these big major projects, especially in this area, are all delayed, sometimes with final investment decisions a year out and things like that. We struggled with the financing for it. We thought it would be significantly easier. We haven't wavered from the plan though. Like that's the thing, is like we will be building drones at the airport. We will be having 1,000 jobs because we want to have a world-class airport for all these world-class projects that are coming in.
I recall a conversation you and I had, and you had mentioned that you were talking to several passenger carriers that you were working on deals with now. It's been over a couple of years. What is the status of those talks, and when can we expect to see a passenger service at the airport?
So in the fall, before the end of 2024, we will have a passenger service. We have a deal signed with an airline now. We're just waiting for everything to line up with regards to the projects, because there's charter, there's cargo, and there's commercial service. Behind the scenes, we have a deal signed for an airline to come in before Christmas. That's our goal by the end of 24 to have passenger service restored, and we will.
Which airline is that?
I can't say yet. It's the other parties, because they're publicly traded. They have to disclose. We can't influence market forces like that.
Is there anything there concrete that you can point me to, whether it's with an investor or whether plans that have come to fruition or something that's confirmed that something will take place?
I'm only concerned because I don't want to prematurely sort of out relationships with people that we're working while we're in that final stage. It's more of a courtesy to them. I would love to tell you everything right now if I could. It's just I don't want to be a bad partner to those people that we've had these leases and MOUs and commercial agreements with, because it just wouldn't be fair to them. And we don't want to be a bad partner because we only get a chance at that once. But I want the people to a little bit more patience, because in the next month, we have 3 major announcements coming out, and it's just coordinating to be in Stephenville at the same time with our partners. We think that's going to be exciting. And people are going to see from that, and with this investment coming in, that the proof is going to be there for everyone to see. Everything that we promised 3 years ago was going to come to fruition. I'm excited for it.
He was very gracious, I think. That's not an easy conversation to have. We are very good friends, although I have to say that, my job as a minister and his job as a prime minister is quite separate from our friendship. He doesn't, around that cabinet table, there's no real favorites. You got to make your case and you got to make it well, and that's it.
Announces he's quitting cabinet and won't seek re-election. What's behind his decision, and what could this mean for the federal Liberals? That's coming up. We return now to Seamus O'Regan's departure from federal cabinet. O'Regan says his political career has been all-consuming and he's stepping away to spend more time with his family and not because of any concerns with the Liberal Party. O'Regan was in the On The Go radio studio this afternoon speaking with host Chrissy Holmes.
What are you feeling about the future right now of the federal Liberal Party? Any concerns?
Oh, I mean, I think you have to have the humility of knowing that, we've been in for 9 years. At some point, people are always looking for change, but you have to put the case forward that you can't just have change for change's sake. Every party has an obligation, most particularly us, I would argue, to put forward where we see the country going, and you got to make that case to people. I came back here 10 years ago with all due humility to the people of St. John South, Mount Pearl. I put my case forward that I was not here for the show. I was here to do the job, to do the hard work diligently. I spent a year campaigning. They took a leap of faith in me. I have never, ever forgotten that. I had a bit of a rocky start, but I got my act together. I got well, and 2 years later was in cabinet. And I have worked. I've done my best, I can say, hand on heart, for the people of this province, for the people of my riding, and for the people of the country. So I feel good, but I remain the Member of Parliament. I'm not going anywhere. I will stay on as MP of St. John South Mount Pearl. I will not be seeking re-election, but I will be staying on to fill out the mandate that the people gave me.
What do you think people should know about what life in politics is like? 10 years. I mean, how, if you could summarize.
If you could summarize.
How hard is it?
And I went into it with eyes wide open. I'd been 3 years, I worked for Edward Roberts. I was his assistant. I was 2 years working for Premier Brian Tobin back in the day. But it is consuming. The highs are high. I mean, the work is good. If you love this work, and if you're committed to, doing your bit to try and make things better, it is unbelievable. But the lows are low, but the highs are high. And that's what brings you back every time, is the work. The work is great. And I would, to anybody out there who may feel overly cynical about politics, there's lots of people who do, I'm telling you, it's still great work. And to people out there who love and feel they can contribute, it is an amazing place to be.
I'm asking you this with like 30 seconds on the clock, Seamus. What's next?
Don't know. I mean, I'll be a stalwart member of Parliament.
TV? Have you thought of ever going back?
I tell you, I'll tell you what really gets me going and what I loved. Energy NL's AGM this year. Everybody is talking about climate change and lowering emissions and staying prosperous, and we are doing it here in this province. It is amazing to me as somebody who's been on this file for 20-odd years. And also, where we may be going with the Lower Churchill, where we may be going on reconciliation in this province, I'm telling you, we're leading the country. I'm so proud to be from here and to have represented it.
Well, the CBC's David Cochran broke this story this afternoon. He joins me now from the Power and Politics studio in Ottawa. Nice to see you, David.
Hey, Carolyn. Good to see you.
So, really big national political story today. What will O'Regan's resignation mean for Justin Trudeau's cabinet?
Well, he loses a couple of things in this resignation. He loses someone who's been seen as a pretty solid and steady performer, certainly in the Labour portfolio, and seen as one of the better communicators for a government that is struggling to communicate. And he also loses a loyal and personal friend from his inner circle, because Seamus O'Regan's friendship with Justin Trudeau predates either of their political careers. And that friendship and that loyalty is obviously very important in a difficult profession like national politics. What it means for the actual cabinet, there is going to be a cabinet not so much a shuffle, but a swearing in of a replacement, a 1-for-1. O'Regan goes out and one more person is going to come in, and that's going to happen tomorrow at Rideau Hall. The Prime Minister's office has already said that. It's unlikely, in my view, Carolyn, that it's going to be another Newfoundland and Labrador MP going into the cabinet. Goody Hutchings, of course, is still there as the Minister of Rural Economic Development, so there is still a minister from the province. The more likely scenario that I see playing out is a guy by the name of Steve McKinnon, who's a Quebec MP here in the Ottawa area, who's been filling in as the House leader, for the government, while the existing House leader, Karina Gould, was off on maternity leave. While Karina Gould is back, it's easy to slot her into that job and then move Steve McKinnon, so he remains in cabinet, into Seamus O'Regan's position. There has been speculation, of course, since the Liberals lost that big by-election in Toronto St. Paul's a few weeks ago, that there might be this larger shakeup and restructuring of the cabinet. O'Regan's departure and his quick replacement on a 1-for-1 suggests that's not in the cards. Certainly not now. We don't know if it will happen in the coming weeks or months, but we're not going to see that in the next 24 hours. It's just Seamus O'Regan out and one more person in to replace him.
All right, and so the Liberals won't have to worry about a by-election because O'Regan is staying on as an MP until the next election, but they are losing a high-profile candidate for the next election.
Yeah, and they don't know who's going to run in that seat, and that is a problem for them because the Conservatives are building some candidates to run for them in the next election in the Newfoundland and Labrador ridings. We've already seen David Brazel, the former interim leader of the party, former cabinet minister. He's going to run against Joanne Thompson in one of the St. John seats. And Carolyn, you know, when I was there in May, I ran into people like Terry French and Darren King, who had been progressive Conservative cabinet ministers, and they're all looking at maybe running in the next federal election. Terry French in Avalon, where Ken McDonald is expected to run maybe provincially for Andrew Furey and not reoffer again. And you might see Darren King go in Churns Rogers riding the Bonavista Buren seat. Of course, he has roots on the Buren Peninsula. So you see a shift in preparation and recognized names lining up to run for the Conservatives. And it's remarkable to see people who are cabinet ministers in the Dunderdale and Williams years running for the party of Stephen Harper after the ABC campaign that happened there many years ago. But it's less certain for the Liberals. Who runs in Avalon? Who runs if Churns Rogers doesn't run again, as everyone's expecting? And now who runs in a key seat for them in St. John South Mount Pearl with Seamus O'Regan stepping down? Incumbency is a real benefit. The profile of a minister is a real benefit. They lose both of those in this race, and now the search for an O'Regan replacement begins.
All right, lots to watch out for. David Cochrane, so nice to have you back on the show. Thank you so much for this.
Thanks, Carolyn. Say hi to everyone.
Will do. Well, a typical summer job for most university students could be working at the mall or maybe at a summer camp. Not too many get a job on the water with a search and rescue team. The Inshore Rescue Boat Program gives post-secondary students weeks of training to become equipped for search and rescue missions, and we tagged along to check out some of that training.
Please wear your PFD at all times aboard the boat and within 1 meter or 6 feet of the shore. Yes, we will be doing reps with Placentia, but we still have to call MSC for our departure and arrival messages.
Yes.
How are you? Good. Okay, ready your lines.
Ready lines.
Steering
line ready.
Steering line ready.
Bow line ready.
Bow line ready.
Bow line secure.
Bow line secure. There's a bit of other traffic in the channel this morning.
Yep.
So this program is it's a student program through FSWEP and the Canadian Coast Guard, the Student Federal Workers Employment Program. So it's offered to university students who have completed their first year and who have just graduated. If you are looking to join the program, you have to have your first year of post-secondary education completed, or you must not be graduating at the time. It's a phenomenal program that's a part of the sort of SARS system here in Conception Bay, all across Newfoundland and Canada for that matter.
I actually had barely any boating experience before this. I'd been out on a boat a few times with some of my relatives, but I've never actually driven a boat myself. I only had basic first aid. I didn't have much else other than that. But I applied to the program and I did the courses that I needed to do. And then we go to a training camp every single year before the season starts, and they give us extensive training there. So it's really an amazing opportunity. And I'd say if you're even a little bit interested for it, go for it. It's one of the best decisions I've ever made, and I really enjoy this job so much. Yes, that is correct. We're going on a patrol towards Kelly's Island.
We work here in the Conception Bay, though we operate outside of Long Pond. We work 8-hour shifts a day, but we're on call 24/7. Usually if there's an issue, we're called to the task, especially here in Newfoundland, where there's not a lot of other resources. Day to day here at base, we spend most of our days training, patrolling the area, making sure that we make ourselves known to the general public, make sure that they know that we're here for them, and that if they run into any issues, that we're here 24/7 to be able to assist them. To give you guys an idea of what's involved in a PIW procedure, so essentially it's if, let's say, there's a victim in the water that we do have to recover, we are going to have to get up at the bow. We approach the victim downwind, and we give us enough space that we can have enough distance to approach at a slow, steady pace. We'll have one crew member at the bow of the vessel with the boat hook fully extended, ready to grab the victim.
Got eyes!
We'll have Lauren sort of in the middle to be able to actually have that physical grab onto the victim. It's good to have the boat hook. It allows us to have that extended reach, but of course having that physical hands-on is fantastic. That's what we shoot for.
3-0, 2-0.
No eyes.
No eyes.
Frame in the water.
Frame in the water.
Contact.
Contact.
Moving down the collar.
Moving down the
Down the collar. And then we'll have a third crew member, Sarah Lynn. She'll be in the back with the rescue frame ready to get the victim into so that we can get them aboard and if it was a real case, to provide first aid to them.
Bodies in the frame.
Bodies in the frame.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. On the collar.
On the collar.
On the collar.
Airway, breathing, and circulation are good.
Airway breathing and circulation is good. Roger that.
Are good.
On my count, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And down on my count, 1, 2, 3. Being in Newfoundland and just being able to help the people around me, this is my home, this is my community, being such a big part and lending that helping hand, it means a lot to me because I love this province.
I think that regardless if you have interest in being on the water or not, I think it's one of the best student programs out there. It's such a fantastic opportunity, and maybe you get to find a newfound passion of being on the water. Before doing this, I didn't really consider joining the Coast Guard, but ever since being in this program, despite wanting to go into education, there's definitely a part of me that wants to continue working on the water. It's kind of, I couldn't imagine spending a summer, being off it. So if you have a little bit of interest or a lot, regardless, I think that it's a fantastic opportunity and you should absolutely consider it and apply.
Tomorrow's Friday. Feels like this week has gone by kind of fast.
It does. A little bit, yeah.
And now we get to look ahead to the weekend. How are we going to be kicking things off tomorrow?
Yeah, so it looks pretty nice. We may see, well, temperature-wise anyway, a little bit of relief from what we're seeing today. But let's take a look at what's going on. So it's going to be a bit unsettled through the afternoon. There is still the chance of some showers, potentially, particularly in the first part of the day. And the trend should be to clear up. But again, don't be surprised if you hear a few rumbles of thunder in the east. Overall, daytime highs between 22 to 27 degrees from the west coast through to the Avalon. and southern areas of the island. Where you are in onshore flow, temperatures may be a tad cooler. And then Labrador generally in the teens tomorrow. Much cooler though for Nain. You'll see some cloud cover, some showers, and temperatures around 10 degrees. Now, Saturday, different story. We should see some sunshine pretty much across the board for the island. Temperatures anywhere in the teens to about the mid-20s through the afternoon. Again, winds will be onshore, so we may see onshore potentially in the afternoon for the Avalon. So temperatures may be a little cooler than that if you are near the coast. But overall, a pretty decent day. Up across Labrador, again, single digits the story for the north coast. Otherwise, hanging on to the teens. Happy Valley Goose Bay, though, you should see some sunshine and a temperature around 21 degrees through the day. And then as we look ahead to Sunday, again, a very unsettled evening and into the morning hours for Labrador as you sit an area of high pressure, or an area of low pressure rather, sits over you, which is good news because we need the rain, especially up across the Big Land. But for the island, especially into towards the morning hours, we may see some cloud cover to start, but the day should be pretty good for the east, except some showers will move in late day thanks to this area of low pressure for the west coast, and then eventually into central as the afternoon rolls through. Temperature-wise on Sunday, really not a whole lot of change. Temperatures in the low to mid-20s. Pretty much across the board, and very similar temperatures up across Labrador as well, except only about 10 degrees in Lab City, again with that rain, much needed rain for those of you in Lab West. Long range forecast, pretty good. Temperatures will be in the 20s for the most part, maybe a chance of a few showers there on Monday. And again, remember, as we head into Monday or early next week, we are going to say goodbye to this humidity, but 22, 24 degrees, pretty nice. And for central Newfoundland, your temperatures will cool as well, around 21 degrees. Your overnight lows dipping a little bit on Tuesday night there into the single digits, and you'll see that for western Newfoundland as well. But yeah, nice start to next week for sure. Labrador, you're looking at temperatures in the teens to start the week, back up to 20 by Tuesday. And overall, we are looking at temperatures into the teens for Labrador West as well, as you sit around 18 for your Tuesday. Now, for our weather photo of the day today, a great shot, a lovely place to sit and relax and enjoy the view there in Keels. Roland shared this great shot with us. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, you can do that by sending them to my Facebook page. That's a great place. Or the best place to do it is email it to nlphotos@cbc.ca, which I'm sure this weekend with the beautiful weather, you'll have lots of photos to share.
Yes, and a few people probably heading out in their boats for the recreational food fishery, catching some cod. Yep. Looks like a great weekend for that, for sure. And a nice looking forecast, like a nice comfortable forecast temperature-wise in the low to mid-20s.
Honestly, that is my favorite type of weather.
Yeah, very, very nice. And great news for Labrador, for sure.
That much we need to rain, 100%.
Yeah. And the cooler temperatures will help, especially I'm sure the firefighters will appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's it for us for this Thursday evening. Thank you so much for spending part of your night with us.